Coming up on today's edition of the Bulls Report, we got three huge topics that we're going to be breaking down today. The first topic we're going to be diving into is if a Ayo Dosunmu contract could be coming. The Bulls front office spoke about that. Then also the Bulls front office spoke about the team possibly running it back. And then they also mentioned Coby White and kind of the plan they have there with him and Jevon Carter. Who's going to be that starting point guard? Who's going to be coming off the bench? It's sounding like Coby White. They are trying to get him into that sixth man of the year type of scoring guard role off the bench. My name is Patrick Steetman. Welcome into today's edition of the Bulls Report. And before we get into it, guys, I was actually walking in the studio, and my boss has said, hey, why don't you challenge some Bulls fans? I don't believe in them, and they were just talking a lot of garbage to me about saying that Bulls fans won't hit that subscribe button. So my goal, can we hit 50 new subs on today's video? It would really help me out and kind of shut my bosses up a little bit as well. So hit that sub button. I want to be your one-stop shop for all Bulls news and rumors. Well, let's talk about it. First story on today's show, Ayo Dosunmu is a contract extension possibly coming from the guard out of Chicago. I sure hope so, but this was an anonymous Bulls front office member. There was a couple interesting quotes, and we have three of them during today's show. That it was an anonymous Bulls front office member just talking about kind of Bulls free agency, the draft, and just what's going on around the team. And this is the quote that came out. They said, "We're still very high on Ayo. This is how restricted free agency can go sometimes. Don't read anything into our opinion of him as a player just because he isn't signed." And I thought that was interesting because this is, I guess, an indication for me that Ayo will be back with the Bulls. Obviously, anything can happen, anything can change. And obviously, if a team, let's just say, throws Ayo 4 for 40, and, like the report that came out that the Brooklyn Nets may do that, like maybe the Bulls say, let's let Ayo walk. Because from year one to year two for Ayo, we did see the efficiency fall off. I mean, he was fantastic his rookie year, especially from the efficiency standpoint. I mean, 52% from the field, 37.6% from deep. He was great, but then this past year, it fell off a lot, going from 52 to 49, and then from deep, going from 37 to 31. But overall, the points per game, assists per game, and rebounds per game all stayed relatively the same. And I will say this with Ayo. I am a big fan of his game, not only offensively, but I think it's what he brings defensively that kind of intrigues me so much about him. That 6'4" archetype where he's able to be kind of that point of attack defender for the Chicago Bulls team. I think it's absolutely fantastic to have a guy like that, pair him up with an Alex Caruso, pair him up with a Jevon Carter. Like, those guys at the point of attack could be absolutely devastating for opposing teams' offenses. Because, yes, we do know the Bulls, front court, by no means are they a good rim protecting or a good defensive front court. But when you have those point of attack defenders, when you have those guys like Ayo, Jevon, those guys that can really get after and really pick you up full court, it can work out, and the Bulls can kind of, mask some of their defensive inefficiencies with just having strong point of attack defenders. But from a more analytical perspective with Ayo's shooting numbers this past year, I mean, he struggled. He struggled a lot. Like, the catch and shoot sitting at 31.4. The pull-up jumper sitting at 37.1. The less than 10 feet, pretty solid at 62.6. But then the three-point field goal percentage all the way down, like we said, at 31.1. And then he did do that on 2.4 three-point shot attempts per game. But I think it comes down to the Bulls' kind of final couple roster spots here at that guard spot. I think it comes down to Ayo and Jevon Freeman-Liberty. If you guys don't know, Jevon Freeman-Liberty has been absolutely balling out for the Bulls Summer League. He grew up in Chicago. He went to DePaul, and he hooped during his senior year at DePaul. He averaged over 21 a game. And he's kind of been living up to the hype in this little Summer League period so far. I mean, these numbers are ridiculous, and it's the efficiency for me that really stands out. I mean, shooting damn near 49% from deep during Summer League was great. I mean, that's the one part of his game that kind of shocked me the most, because we obviously know he's a great downhill rim attacker in the league. He's really crafty when he gets to the lanes, and he uses his body and his shoulders really well to create separation. He also did a good job, cleaning up the glass and being a playmaker for that Bulls Summer League team. But I think he's earned a chance. I think, Jevon Freeman-Liberty has kind of earned his stripes a little bit to compete with Ayo for maybe, rotation minutes during this next upcoming season. My ideal situation is they bring them both in, they both make the roster, and even if it's Jevon Freeman-Liberty on a two-way deal where the Bulls still have one more of those to offer to a player, I think bring them both in, let them compete, They both got that dog in them. They're both Chicago kids. They're both guards from Chicago. So I think it'll be interesting to kind of see those guys, battle it out. But I'll ask you guys this question. This will be the pinned comment on today's video. Ayo Dosunmu, Jevon Freeman-Liberty. Pick one of those players for the Bulls roster. Give me an AD for Ayo Dosunmu. Give me a JFL for Jevon Freeman-Liberty. If you get hit with the YouTube ad break, sit back, let it play, and answer today's pinned comment. Now let's talk about it because the Bulls front office had a lot of words to say about kind of the, I guess, maybe negative feedback from the fans on their offseason. They were kind of talking about the rebuilding aspect and everything. And, this is what they had to say about the Bulls potentially competing next year. They said, "We are aware of the criticism about running it back, but we have good players. Are we supposed to throw in the towel? We will be a playoff team barring another major injury." Okay, I agree with you. You will probably be a playoff team if you stay healthy this entire year. I think the pickups of Jevon Carter and Torrey Craig would just help the Bulls on the margins overall. But what is the Bulls' max potential here? Like, what are we trying to accomplish? Are we trying to just win one playoff series, make the playoffs and then losing 4 to the Bucks or losing 5 to the Bucks or the Heat or Celtics, one of those teams? Because the East is frankly, it's stacked, and especially at the top. Like, I'll tell you what, the Bulls, no matter what they do, they're not going to be better than the Heat, especially if they get Damian Lillard. They're not going to be better than the Bucks. I think the Celtics will regress, but we're not going to be near them at all. They're going to be another solid team. The Cavs, they're going to only keep on getting better with their young core. I'm a big fan of what the Knicks have done this offseason with adding DiVincenzo, and they kind of have the same unit that they're going to, run it back and probably be better than they were last year. The Pacers, they got Obi Toppin. I loved what they did in the draft, getting Jarris Walker. Then the Sixers, obviously you still have the MVP. Toronto, we know, is a really talented roster. And then the Hawks, they're sneaky. They got Trae Young. And then the Brooklyn Nets. I can confidently say the Bulls here are I would probably say they're better or maybe tied with 3 of these teams. They're not better than probably 7 of these teams on there, and I could say that confidently. So maybe their max potential for the Bulls this year is a 7 or 8 seed, but it's going to come down to them offensively. Like the Bulls last year were a very solid defensive team, especially in the second half of last year when they added Patrick Beverley. He was able to cause a lot more havoc, but this has to change. It's shocking enough. The Bulls, from efficiency standpoint, shot the ball pretty damn well. It's going to come down to 3-point attempts per game. That's where I think the Bulls need to get better on the margins because, frankly, adding a Jevon Carter, Torrey Craig, great 3-point shooters. Both shot over 40% this year. But from a volume standpoint, I don't know if that's going to be able to be enough to impact the overall points per game because the Bulls just don't really put up a lot of threes. But defensively, I think that's going to be the Bulls' identity this next year. I think they're going to have really solid, guard defenders. Obviously, if you bring back Ayo, pair him up with Jevon Carter and Alex Caruso, they're going to be able to get after it defensively. And obviously, Patrick Williams, I'm a big fan of him, just his overall size. He's able to wreak some havoc too. But defensively, the Bulls were really solid last year. I think we kind of, mask over the Bulls' kind of defensive prowess last season just because of, the lack of success that they had overall. But they were a good defensive team, and I think they would just improve with adding guys like Jevon Carter and Torrey Craig. Well, I'll ask you guys. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. Vegas actually has the Bulls over-under right now at 37.5, so keep that in mind. How many games do you think the Bulls will win next season? Let me know down in the comment section. I'm probably floating around 500. I'll go 41, but let me know what you guys have to say down below in the comment section. All right, now let's talk about an interesting quote about Coby White coming from, again, this anonymous Bulls front office member. Because obviously bringing Jevon Carter, a lot of Bulls fans are saying, who's going to start at that starting point guard spot? Will be Jevon, will be Coby. This is what the Bulls front office had to say. It said adding Jevon Carter and re-signing Coby White were big moves for us. Jevon will bring some of the defense we lost at the lead guard spot with Lonzo Ball out. And he can shoot too. Coby White has come a long way. We think he can win 6th Man of the Year. He's been that good as a bench scorer. And I love this idea of having Coby White kind of man that, second unit because the Bulls starting unit, LaVine, DeRozan, Vooch, they're getting majority of the shots. There's really no other way around it. With Coby White, kind of that combo scoring guard type of player, I would love to see him on that second unit and kind of be with the Torrey Craigs, be with the Ayos, be with the Andre Drummonds, where more of the spotlight and more of the offense can be ran through him. But this past season, from an efficiency standpoint, not bad at all. 44.3% from the field, 37.2% from deep, and then 87.1% from the free throw line is very solid. But he did struggle a lot during the first half of this season. just overall productivity for him was not living up to that 7th overall selection a couple drafts ago. But the Bulls did bring in Jevon Carter, and I'm very excited to see him play. I do think he will fit in better with the starting unit than a guy like Coby White. Coby's a better overall player just from a talent perspective, but I do think Jevon, I think he just meshes well better. But, I mean, this past season, that 42.1% from three is what excites me so much, and then just plus his defensive prowess and that 94 feet mentality he got from just growing up in Chicago and then obviously going to press Virginia. But my overall breakdown on this Coby White versus Jevon Carter kind of situation, who gets that starting nod, I don't think it's a dig at Coby to say that Jevon Carter should get the starting job just because he fits better next to Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. We know LaVine, DeRozan, they're offensive-minded players. That's what they like to do. They like to put the ball in the bucket, and they need a guy next to him who's going to do the little things, who's going to dive on the floor for loose balls, be that more connector piece offensively, make that extra swing pass to him, get in the lane, get him an extra couple easier looks. And then a guy like Coby White, who's more of that combo scoring guard, can come off the bench, be a flamethrower, or maybe one game he has 30, and, you're saying, oh, wow, Coby White, having that sixth man of the year potential. Like, who says he couldn't turn into a guy like an Emmanuel Quickie or like a Tyrese Maxey type of build? Obviously, those two players are way more skilled and way better at this point of their career. But Coby White, I mean, he can score at all three levels, and maybe he can just keep on developing, his game into turning into something incredibly special. But I ask you guys, Coby White, from his side, how many points per game do you think Coby will score next season? I'm hoping it's double digits, him only scoring 9-something this year. I'm hoping he can get that up to, maybe 10, 11, 12, and keep the efficiency as well. Let me know, how many points per game will Coby White score next season? As always, guys, thank you guys so much for watching today's edition of the Bulls Report. Hit that subscribe button. Lock us in as you go to YouTube channel for all content around your Chicago Bulls. See you guys next time. Go Bulls.